If you're in between the ages of 20 and I'm going to say 40, you probably are dealing with like looking for that next big move or the career, especially around AI, right? And if you're following this channel, we are going to be talking about it. I've been promising to do more content. So here's another video on the weekend, nonetheless. So I'm hoping you guys are appreciative of that. Anyway, today we're going to be getting into what is going on with people's promotions and the general ladder of like getting into a career, changing a career, or why promotions are just generally not happening right now. A lot of people are feeling that way, right? So, again, if you're in between the ages of 20 and 40, and you're working in a knowledge based economy type of job, and you feel like that promotion that you've been waiting on is just not arrived yet, you're not imagining that, at least to me, the ladder has moved specifically. And today I'm going to show you the data behind what has actually happened, why it happened, who's getting hit the hardest, and what the people telling you that everything is going to be fine are getting wrong about that. Then I'm going to tell you what the data actually says in this specific market. So just want to be upfront. This is not a pep talk. This is a structural analysis, obviously talking head sort of scenario on my channel. So make sure you like this video, share it with your network, please. If you're not following the channel, please go ahead and do that. Smash that like button. Also go to the link on my profile. Check out where on TikTok I have more candid conversations. I'm going to be trying to do more content like I talked about. Just make sure I get this information out there. Make sure you are tapped in. Okay, let's get into it. So since 2022, 43% of middle management hiring has disappeared from the market, right? So an example of this, so like Revelio Labs, the private firm using scraped LinkedIn data and other private source data, but mixing that with public profile data covering tens of millions of workers, has been able to confirm this through their study, right? So another analysis points out that U.S. employers posted 42% fewer middle management positions at the end of 2024 compared to the start of 2022. Live Data Technologies, sourced by Bloomberg and CNBC, was able to say that middle managers were 33% of all 2023 layoffs. So just 3 years from now, or 3 years ago from now. That was up from 2018 pre-pandemic timeframes. Okay. They were 29% of 2024 layoffs, another huge chunk of layoffs, right? And those are during years that, if you're kind of paying attention, there wasn't a lot of like layoff news, right? There wasn't a lot of people saying the economy was drastically that bad. 2022 was pretty bad. And then between 23 and before 25, like it wasn't really that bad. Wall Street Journal, pulling from live data, said that manager headcount fell 6.1% between May 2022 and May 2025. These are three independent data sets with different methodologies that all converged on the same conclusion. The middle tier of corporate hierarchy is shrinking, right? A couple of named initiatives that definitely help you realize this is not conjecture. This is truly what is happening out here. And apologies for the font here we're looking. I built this presentation with Gamma. If you haven't used it, make sure you check it out. Gamma allows you to make PowerPoint presentations. I should have quality checked this one before this presentation, but because I'm doing this on the weekend, you'll just have to forgive me. Anyway, what's being built in general, you can kind of see here, right? Like there's the evidence, the mechanism, the age-old story, and the counter argument, and kind of what goes to works in general. And so what we're going to cover is what has been discovered by the data. A couple of very specific, layoffs and things that have happened that you can see here: Meta, Citigroup, Bayer, Google, Amazon, UPS. Citigroup CEO Jane Foster specifically launched what was internally called Project Bora Bora. Management layers cut from 13 to 8. 60 management committees eliminated. 20,000 middle management and operational roles were gone just by 2025, last year at the time of this video. So very serious large companies that are not always like the tech, bros that are big employers for the US. Google in August 2025, according to CNBC, sourced from an internal town hall meeting, 35% of all managers overseeing fewer than 3 people were eliminated. So, very seriously, the span is widening for what we're seeing on how the effective management is being, curtailed to that. What that means is it produces a different structure for the businesses to have to manage the number of employees. I want to point that out too, right? Like we've started this in particular video talking about how managers are the ones being let go, or that those roles are being eliminated at these organizations we've covered. What would be the natural result from that? Again, you're going to have to manage more people with the number of managers that are still at the organization, right? So Gallup published an annual global meta-analysis of the span that we're talking about here and how many people that a manager would oversee. As you can see from the visual, very clearly it has gone up. 2013, the number of people was 8.1 on average. 2024, it's 10.9. And 2025, it was 12.1. And that's just obviously the latest data. So we'll get a chance to kind of see what happens, as the next one gets released here. Korn Ferry, a survey of 15,000 employees, said that 41% of their employers saw management getting cut from layers from the past year. 44% specifically among U.S. employees. So the promotion velocity on this is just clearly changing, right? I mean, ADP Research Institute, which is not a survey, they're using payroll data, said that over 50 million workers, more than 96,000 employers, can back this information. Managerial promotion rates peaked at 7.3% in 2022. Since then, they have taken a bit of an adjustment here, right? 2023, you saw a retraction in the number of folks who were promoted. 2024, back to pre-pandemic levels. January is typically the highest promotion month of the year. January's annualized promotion rate fell from 9.0% in 2022 to 7.3% in 2024, 19% in a 2-year span only. Less than 4% of workers are currently being upskilled in their first 2 years of employment. This is going to put us in a different conversation because of these different outcomes, right? You're going to see us moving towards the mechanism that we can start discussing, which is it's not just one thing, it's 3 different things. And the mechanism will help you understand that it's the analytical engine and 3 forces all compressing simultaneously to put pressure on what is existing now, right? And again, we're framing this. If you've been following the content, please go back, follow content, check out the refinery paradox, the videos I talk about what is going to happen with artificial intelligence, another self-promotion. If you haven't already liked this video, please do so, smash that like button. Also follow the channel, go to the link in the bio, make sure you check out the other content. That is all free, right? All free. And make sure you soak up this free game. I mean, this is going to help you stay in front of the changes that are occurring. Okay, so let's talk about the mechanism. Okay, 3 forces all compressing simultaneously. There's obviously the math, the incentive, and the exit that certainly will be presented as things come up. Okay, so the arithmetic here is the policy, right? Less managers, similar number of reportees. And so, before 6 reports a manager, 167 managers needed. But the future will look like 12 reports a manager, 83 managers needed, right? The model before requires more management layers naturally, and doubling span of control significantly reduces those layers. When an organization mandates 10 plus direct reports per manager, it's not saying that the manager will get busier. It's saying that the organization will have fewer managers per unit of revenue. And that translates to work that we've just discussed. If 1,000-person company here in this example previously had those managers, they'll see that impact through what we've demonstrated visually. The positions above those 84 managers do not automatically disappear. They just get farther away from the bottom of the organization. The rungs that used to sit at years 3 to 5 or whatever projected time frame of someone's career get pushed from year 7 to 9 as an example, or they disappear entirely because the layer that fed those particular rungs of the ladder have disappeared, right? Which again, it's part of our discussion here, right? So the exit route has become more expensive. This really comes to AI here in general, okay? Excuse me, it predates AI in general, but it's coming to how AI is used to expedite what is already existing. So that's part of the refining paradox. If you haven't already checked it out, again, please go check out the previous videos. I am not one for repeating stuff in videos, except obviously my promotional stuff. Peter Capelli at Wharton, the canonical voice on this, documented it across multiple books and papers when we're talking about financial modeling and accounting modelings, right? So post 1980s, corporate finance moved to measure performance on a per employee basis, revenue per employee, profit per employee. Those metrics get reported to the boards and investors, right? When the metric is revenue per employee, the path to a better metric is to grow revenue without growing the employee count, or to cut employees without losing revenue. Both roads lead to the same structural outcome: fewer people doing more work. AI has not created that dynamic. AI is accelerating it, right? That's part of the refinery paradox. Go check that out, right? That's the discussion against post-labor economics. If you've been watching post-labor economics or some of the other discussions that are out there, that's just the most famous one that I think is on YouTube. But if you have seen those before from influencers like David Shapiro and the other folks who are out there, you're going to understand why my particular theorem called the refinery paradox stands out as different. Okay. From a practitioner's point of view, I do not see what they see. What I'm presenting to you is based on the evidence that's around. And if you're just paying attention, a lot of the influencers I'm talking about are posting basically retractions now, right? They're saying, hey, things are not going well. Adoption is not going well with businesses. Let's talk about why. Let's talk about the future. So the plans that people had for like universal basic income alone are not feasible. I've said that for a long time. Go back to watch videos. Go to my TikTok so you can see the content I've been putting out on a more frequent basis. But on TikTok, in general, that is what I believe. Okay. So check that out. Anyway, you get a chance to kind of understand where we're going from that. Force 2, as I said, is the financial accounting model. That's just not going to change. You're not going to convince investors and board members right now to change how they look at financial modeling. That's just not going to happen. Force number 3 is the job switching premium has collapsed. Okay. From years, 4 years, but for the years for people in their careers that we talked about, the playbook was generally this. Okay. If you are not being promoted internally, you left and accepted an external offer somewhere else at a higher level, more salary, better benefits. The switcher premium was very real. Job changers earn higher wages on average, 20 to 30% higher at a job. Sometimes 6% points higher with job stayers. Okay. So job stayers don't generally see a reward for that. The premium for that, though, is gone. The Atlanta Fed wage growth tracker had for March 2026, the overall median wage growth 3.9%. Job stayers 3.8%. Job changers 5%. The gap is a single percentage point at this point in time. ADP Pay Insights, covering 13.8 million people, matched workers, saying that January 2026 Stayers were up 4.5%, changers up 6.3%. Changers are now tied with November 2025 for the slowest pace since February 2021. That gap continues to close, right? If you go back and listen to the refining paradox, I've talked about how the actual premium that gets you paid more now is being an AI strategist at work, or an AI implementation manager, or a program manager, or a product manager. That is how you're going to get rewarded in a higher increment, at least for the foreseeable future, because of how AI has affected the market. This is not a wage story, right? This is specific. JOLTS data, JOLTS data, October 2025, the quits rate is 1.8%. That is the lowest non pandemic level since 2014. Workers are not voluntarily staying put out of loyalty. The market is offering fewer places to go and a smaller premium for leaving. The BLS report that went out about this says job openings per unemployed worker fell to 0.87 in December 2025. That is the lowest since February 2021. There are fewer openings than there are people looking, right? And there are so many different ways to look at the data, right? If you're looking at data about being employed from the different sources, especially the federal sources, right now is probably not a great time to necessarily believe what you see. And so, the bottom rung has moved up, right? Again, the New York Fed put this out. The recent grad underemployment rate sits at 42.5%. Half of all grads are underemployed. Recent grads unemployment is sitting at 4.8% versus the national 4.0. And again, we just said there are different ways to measure that unemployment rate. So where does the truth lie in that? It must be worse at this point if it is not presentably and obviously showable in the data. It just must be worse, because the incentive for the folks who do keep the data to lie about it right now is much higher than it is for them to tell the truth. Big tech new grad hires is down 50% since 2019. And the class of 2025 alone, more than 24% more applications per job versus the class of 2024. That's a quarter more. That is insane. That number has grown so drastically. Again, if you're seeing this chart with me now, same job, different age, opposite outcome. Workers who are 30 plus at the same role are actually getting paid more at this point. Again, the refinery paradox that I published talks about this. Check out the video. I'll put the link in the description. You can check that out. But workers between 22 and 25 are seeing a negative 13% growth since late 2022, since AI exposed roles are the first to go, right? The headcount adjustment numbers are really starting to reflect negative 20% growth on software developers ages 22 to 25, July 25 versus late 2022 peak. There's a positive 13% on same roles with workers who are ages 30 plus in that same window. So again, this is not poverty. It is the delay. It is happening on purpose, right? I'll let you see this, right? Career entry age on average has jumped 2 years from 22 to 24. The first management role has jumped 6 years from ages 28 to 34. And the average age of first time home ownership has jumped 6 years as well, from 30 to 36. But I'm pretty sure this number is actually even increased at the time of this recording. I believe it is now 38, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll try to circle back and talk about that in the next recording. But these things are just becoming painfully obvious and becoming a thing that we need to talk about, right, at this point. And so what this means is there's two different sides to this, right? There's what the optimists are not talking about, in my opinion, correctly, and what they are not addressing in entirety, but what they are still being optimistic about as well. So A lot of folks are pointing out that the prime age for participation for activity in the in the general economy is at an all-time high. We also have pointed out that AI equals 4.5% of stated 2025 layoff causes. So a lot of people have said that, like, you haven't seen the layoffs yet. Why are you guys freaking out, right? The at the moment paradox here is that task elimination does not equal job elimination, right? So I think in the past, historically, it has, but at this current moment, it doesn't. Historical average, only one occupation gone since 1950 census. Which one that is, I have to look that up. I do have it in the notes. I apologize that I did not include it here. And then what they are not addressing, if you're looking at your screen here, is that entry level data is not fine, right? The entry level data is actually showing some very weird and alarming statistics. The management tier data is not fine, right? The promotion velocity is not fine, and ages 22 to 25 employment has been affected dramatically at a negative 13% rate already in the last 12 months, proving that hiring of folks between 20 and 25 or 30 is not fine. So, what does this mean in general for the premium for not pivoting in your career? The premium for not pivoting at this moment could be equated to $28,000 a year, right? I see this as the North American wage premium for AI fluency within an existing role. This is based off of PwC AI skill premium that they're saying grew 25% to 56% in 1 year. And the Oxford Internet Institute says that the 23% wage premium now exceeds a master's degree premium. But think about what that means is that you capitalizing on artificial intelligence for your career is actually more important than you not doing that at this point. So the $28,000 is a great number to reflect on, that it could change a lot for people's careers in general. And PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, has also put out a report that solidifies from an enterprise level view, this means something. Okay. I know this video is already at 23 minutes. I do not want to record a 40-minute video for you today. I do want to entice you to come back. So if you haven't already, smash that like button. If you haven't already followed the channel, if you haven't already left a comment, let me know where you're watching from. Please do so. Go ahead and just, link up with me, comment, let me know where you're watching from. What is your career? What are you worried about? Talk with me here. What is your age group as well, right? Like, I want to hear more. I'm going to do a part 2 tomorrow. I'm going to drop part 2 tomorrow, and I'll see you all later. But make sure you come back and check out the Substack as well. Link in the bio. I'll write out a full article to go with this as well. All right.